Hey everybody, Brian here from quantlabs.net. Just want to go over this new article coming out now later in the week from the New Yorker. Actually, it might be out now. About, again, fourth time I've done an episode on this. Jim Simons, the guy behind Renaissance Technology and the math wizardry that he brings. So he's in New York. Now remember, he's 79 and he's really active. I don't think he knows what even retirement is, but he founded this new institute called the Flatiron Institute, which is all about computer research and algorithms, and it's pretty modern. This paragraph describes it. But what I'm looking for are the ones about Renaissance Technologies on when he founded it. Nothing really new in this article. He's very secretive on his algorithms, but he did mention he's still active. He's I think he's a chairman, and he gave them in the last 90 days. It's right here. He has nothing to do with Renaissance day to day, but he occasionally offers ideas. I gave them one 3 months ago, and this guy, remember, he's 70, I believe 79. So, simplifying the historical data behind one of the firm's trading algorithms. Beyond that, it didn't work. He wouldn't discuss the details, are proprietary and secret. But he shared with me the key to his investing success: never overrode the model. Overrode, I'm not sure how you can apply that, but maybe somebody can enlighten me one day. He's hired researchers to analyze large amounts of data about stocks and other financial instruments. If you see my previous episode I put out, I believe 2 days ago, there's a document from the SEC which went through about describing their funds. Anyways, this new institute that he's working on is more for sounds like more astronomical, basically space research, quantum physics, astronomy. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Biology. Those are the three areas he's focusing on. I don't think there's any trading whatsoever. His wife is a PhD, and there's some personal stuff described about him and how he worked on the Chern-Simons theory, which is apparently fairly well known, a mathematical principle in physics. And this is the interesting thing he says about math. It's a young person's game. Practitioners tend to do their best work before they're 40. Well, I'm well over 40. But he's ambitious still for a math work well into his adulthood. In his 60s, after his son of his death, blah, blah, blah. Sorry to hear. I mean, it's not an easy hit, I'm sure. When you're thinking hard about math, you're in your own world. I can say the same thing about computers as well. The question is, there exists a complex structure, a six-dimensional sphere, very old, and no one has the answer. So then it goes into articles about other scientists he's brought into this new institute with the Flatiron. Again, let's just focus on trading here. I'm sure it's very impressive. It's got a lot of servers there. Something like, he said, the equivalent of 6,000 laptops. It's crazy. But it says obviously they don't have the power or the resources of Amazon or Google. State-of-the-art algo guidance and software guidance. These are for students, I believe. He has an affiliation with Princeton in New Jersey. It's quite the long article. Now here's his net worth of $18.5 billion. Now I looked it up compared to Carl Icahn. This guy, if from what I'm seeing in the Google results, he's wealthier than Carl Icahn. I mean, this guy is just a legend in his own way. Was paid $1.8 billion last year at RenTech. Very impressive stuff. So again, it gets more into donating, and doing all this philanthropy, which is pretty impressive in itself, as you know. But we're doing a trading podcast, so you don't need to meet Now, here's the funny thing. He's been accused of tax evasion, which I didn't know in 2006. There was a mention of it in this article. Now, he tried to explain it, and I kind of believe him because I think, do you really need to pay out in billions of dollars in tax when you're earning so much? But I personally think he's definitely above board. But here's the article here. Was accused of having unethical trading tricks that had lowered its capital gains taxes by 6.8 billion, maintaining they operated within the law. I believe that. I mean, think about it. If the guy's being a philanthropist, why would he want to evade that amount? And then there's some senator that says, okay, maybe, but that's not what I care about. The law is very clear in this area. Renaissance Technologies abused a tax shelter and pocketed billions from it. Easy for this guy, the senator, to go on about it because this guy's already paying probably billions in tax and hiring many people. Anyways, doesn't matter. Then there's some Bill Gates, Warren Buffett stuff. It's a very long article, as you can see here. It just goes on and on, but I'm just trying to suss out the really important stuff when it comes to the Renaissance. See, again, he talks about physics because that's how physicists have a different way of solving problems, and that's why a lot of the industry hire physicists over mathematicians. It's just the way they apply their problem-solving techniques. So here, well, if it's the same physics in the first place, you think that the code would be implementing the laws of physics, and it's not going to change from a program to program. He's not a programmer himself. He thinks algorithmically on a whiteboard. Underlying algorithms are making simplifications. We've talked about that many times in my videos. We're never solving the fundamental problems. We're always approximating them. And different approximations are made by different algorithms. So this right here, this line, I think, is part of the secret sauce. Different approximations are made by different algorithms. So if you're part of my, well, you're not part of my Telegram group, but that was an exact topic we talked about yesterday with one of my, what I call my quant gods, about that, about having algorithms, generate algorithms that can be used for market direction. And one of the software that I know of is called Numerics, which does that. Okay, so it talks about that Russian, I'm assuming Russian scientist here. Another one, neuroscientist. It goes on about a lot of the medical or bio. That's part of the Flatiron. So here, release coding projects as mountain sort as quickly as possible. I should look that up. Very interesting. I'm sure that's going to be on GitHub. Let's see if that is the case. Pretty curious to see what languages they use. So Magnum Mountain Lab spike sorting software. I do believe that was mentioned here. So this is old. I don't know if this has anything to do with this project, but again, it's definitely C++. Okay, so going back to this, blah 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 blah. It's governing hire brilliant, motivated people and then give them free rein. Scientists don't want to be told what to work on. So there you go, hiring advice right there for Renaissance Technology. My mentor has always been to find outstanding people and let them run with the ball. Renaissance, he had sometimes worked on its algorithm. There's zillions of them. Began working on connections. Simons proposed a tweak on that she was developing to help it map the information more efficiently. It did, he told me. But Simons prefers to stay out of the spotlight, and he politely declined. Let me see what else we got here. So there's more defense, military, because he does come from that background with the cryptology. That was how he started. Someone was named head of the math department at State University of New York at Stony Brook. So this guy just does not want to quit, that's for sure. So he was at Stony Brook. That's where he came up with that Chern and Simon theory. Worked at Berkeley. More mathematicians told me that he staffed his crazy hedge fund. Well, his crazy hedge fund gave him lots of wealth, no doubt on that. Not with financiers, but with physicists, astronomers, and mathematicians. That's who drove that fund. If you're going to analyze data, it really has to be clean. Suppose if it's a series of stock prices. Wait, stock prices don't double in a day, so there's an error in that data. There's all kinds of ways to get bugs out of the data, and it's important because they can really screw you. When you watch his speeches, that's what he talks about all the time. Everything was collaborated, Renaissance, or a great deal of it. It is an open atmosphere. Former colleagues agreed that Simons was an exceptional manager. He understood what scientists enjoyed and often arranged quirky bonding exercises. Employees competed to see who could ride a bicycle along a particular path at the slowest speed without falling over. Now here's the interesting part. Has an unprecedented run in an article last year called The Firm's Signature Product. Now remember, the Medallion Fund is only available for staff. Check out the 2 podcasts ago, we went through this in great detail. The world's greatest money-making machine. Let that sink in. World's greatest money-making machine. That's why we do all these podcasts and whatnot on Jim Simons and his firm, Renaissance. 80% annually on average before fees. Renaissance, other bigger funds have done less well. Said this is a consequence of their size. Large amounts of money cannot be traded as quickly, and longer term trading makes algorithms less useful. It's like weather, near in the higher uncertainty. So he made his first in his early 40s, his first billion by his 60s. Oh, so I still have time, yay. Now here's what I've talked about, one of my previous podcasts about Robert Mercer. Funds management over 2 speech recognition experts. So this guy, Robert Mercer, and then Peter Brown, both from, I know Robert Mercer's from IBM, did linguistics, told me that the language is very predictive, that he foresaw Brown and Mercer could apply their skills to the markets. Brown, who is now Renaissance CEO, and Jim's genius was seeing the possibility for quantitative trading long before others did, in setting up a company in which he provided outstanding scientists with the resources, environment, incentives to produce. His role was more in setting the general direction of the company than developing the technology. Okay, then we'll get into the politics of Robert Mercer. I'm not going to get into that. With Steve Bannon, I've talked to him a few times, but he's very different from me, and I can't change him, but he likes him. So he left because of practical reasons, not political. And he said it was not good for morale because one person already quit, they're one of their top people, another one was on the verge, so I guess they had to do what they did. And then they talk about Jim Simons donating to the Democrats and his math views of America, the youth of America. That's what his passion is, I believe. Then it talks about his fortune. He's not embarrassed to spend lavishly. $48 million apartment overlooking Central Park. Owns a $65 million jet, rents out. And he is a big smoker, apparently. 200-foot yacht called the Archimedes. It sometimes takes his old math friends to extraordinary places. French Polynesia, Jeff Cheeger and Tony Phillips. So some stories there, some more philanthropy, computer science at Berkeley, and more general sciences, technology, astronomy, Let's see what else we can find here. I'm sure I'm missing some pretty important stuff. To distinguish what's a good problem and what's a problem no one's going to care about the answers to anyways, that's taste, and I think I have good taste. More talk of mathematicians here, some awards, some Silicon Valley, PhD, 43. Simons gathering participants were encouraged to propose projects whose payoff might not be immediate. Okay, we want trading. New research center could prospect for interesting data sets where people intuit that there's more structure than can be gotten out of now, but aren't as complicated. That's hopeless. Technology like optoenergetics, so he's all over the map. Acquired hundreds of terabytes of data in a single experiment. Now, one of the leading and newer fintech operations that provide data, there was a comment from the guy that got started. He said that RenTech pretty well buys all data wherever they can. So they're one of the biggest subscribers of data. And as you can tell, in this article and past articles, he's talked a lot about just acquiring data. And here you go again, hundreds of terabytes of data. So they go through that. I'm a life scientist, but Jim's a mathematician. Let's see here, what else we got? Working for Jim, you had the feeling that you better produce because he had pretty much removed every excuse for not producing. So you can tell this guy's a high achiever. Institute for Data Defense, where he spent half his time cracking codes and other half pursuing his mathematical interests. When setting up Renaissance, Simons told me he made sure that despite the extraordinary pressure, his firm was a pleasant and stimulating place to work, with frequent lectures and outings. They could pitch in and say, try that. He wants information to flow among groups at the Flatiron Institute, similar to, I guess, at Renaissance. Can sit around and schmooze. An algorithm that's good for spike sorting, that's what we just looked at here, this Mountain Lab thing done in C++. Spike sorting, some version of it might conceivably be good for star sorting. We're looking at other things in another field. So again, this is astronomy, biology algorithm, amino acids, astronomer, blah, 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 blah. Young astronomer. This is an interesting. Some young astronomer, Christopher Hayward, from PhD from Harvard, showed me a visualization depicting a moment which included the kind of spinning gases. God, I can never speak anymore. Orbs that are familiar from planetarium. Then he clicked the algorithm behind the visuals, a torrent of incomprehensible digits in the simple typeface of Linux code. Booyah. Tried to understand the feedback loop. And then he says, even at Harvard, you're normally waiting in a queue. I guess it's compared to the Flatiron. These are the benefits of the Flatiron. A machine learning algorithmic detects the release of calcium in neurons. Simon was so happy with these results that he decided to proceed with the institute. So this guy's really all for this stuff. Wow, impressive. I'm just looking for anything else. Anything to do with trading here. Renaissance. It sounds like this Flatiron is going to be revolutionary in New York. Simon's willingness to pay more than the most elite academic institutions makes many people feel uncomfortable. Well, he's the 25th richest guy in the U.S. Has channeled hundreds of millions of dollars into autism research to have a family member who is on the spectrum. Pretty impressive what he's capable of doing. I'm just trying to look for anything else. There's a lot revealed in this article, but you get the sense of his personality. How many computing powers such a group would need? It would include some programmers. Simons said that he hopes to have his 4th division in place by September. I asked him, why stop there? Why not 8 units? He says he had the money after all, but he insisted that 4 divisions was all he could handle if he wanted both first class and in a collaborative atmosphere. He needed to manage it all with his light touch. I'm coming to the end, and I think we are done. I'm hoping that this is going to last 100 years, but I won't see it. As long as the tack didn't change to match Simons' fortune, could keep the institute going in perpetuity. Interesting, but there you go. Check it out. I'll put it in the blog later.